In this video, I'm going to show you how to create the positive and negative battery terminals coming from the battery packs. So as you're familiar with already, we have two wires, two from each battery pack, coming in through the potted end cap. One I labeled BP, which means it's from what will be the port battery, and one BS, which is from the starboard battery. It actually doesn't matter which is port and starboard. The only thing that really matters is which from each set is positive and which from each set is negative. Ultimately, what we're going to do is solder the negatives together and solder the positives together. That's going to make the two battery packs in parallel. And then we're going to splice them to a single wire each, so we'll only have two wires, one for the positive node and one for the negative node, and those will plug into our Molex connector, which will plug into our other Molex connector. At any rate, the way to do this is first to make sure that you get the polarity right. Obviously, in this case, we've used the same colored wire, so without using a continuity tester, there's no way of knowing which one is attached to positive and which one's attached to negative. Here I have a multimeter. We're assuming that most people will have these at home. If you don't, you can make a little circuit that just has a little LED light to show continuity. This one's even a fancy one that makes a little beep when there's continuity. And so the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to strip random wires from these, and I'm going to see if the wire that I've stripped is attached to the front of the battery pack, which is positive. So this is positive and that is positive, and our goal is for them to be connected together. So just arbitrarily choosing one to start with, I'll strip this, and now I'm going to do a continuity test with either of the positives. Oh, I lucked out. So it just so happens that the wire I stripped is a positive wire, and so that's good. If I have a positive wire on this one already, then I'm going to go and see if I can find the positive wire on this one and see what my luck is. I don't know which one.
50-50.
50-50. Colin, left or right?
It's to the left.
Left?
Yep, you're doing it.
You want me to do this one?
Yep.
Screw you, I'm doing the right one.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to laugh.
Oh, I win, you lose.
Good luck, very good luck.
I'm excellent luck. See,
1 in 4, man.
That's good, 25% odds, and I still won. You don't want to go to Vegas with me. Okay, cool. So now we have the two positives, and so we can deduce that these are the two negatives. I trust that enough. And just as another test, if I put these two together, you guys can kind of see how this would work. If these are two held together, then this positive should now be connected to that positive. It works. Cool. So now that I know that these are the positives and they're labeled because they're the ones that are stripped, I'm going to do a kind of fancy thing here. Ultimately, we want all of the single wires, the two that are combined from the positive, to go to the same length as all the motor lead wires. So the maneuver is I'm going to cut these shorter, strip them, and then solder an extension wire, just one single wire, that's attached to both of these. So it's going to be 3 wires in one junction. So even though I know I've already stripped these, that was just for the test, I'm now going to cut it short. It's an arbitrary distance short. It doesn't really matter where you cut it, as long as you have enough room to strip it and solder new wires. Also, at this point, it really doesn't matter which one's port or starboard. They're going to be soldered together. If you care, you can leave them labeled the same way, but I don't. So just to save room, I'm going to remove them. So here are my two positives. I'm going to strip each of them and get ready to solder them into a node. So as we've shown before, there's a good way of soldering things into a single wire. In other words, if you're splicing numerous wires together, it's kind of hard to hold them all in place. So the way we do it is take a little piece of scrap wire. No, this isn't cutting. There you go. Take a little piece of scrap wire like this that's stranded, and if you remove all the insulation, you'll be able to expose all of the stranding. I'm just going to cut a bunch of pieces here. And that stranding will allow you to hold 3 wires together. So now I'm just going to pull off a little piece of extra wire. This is extra purple wire from when I was building my motors and everything like that. There should be some left over. I always just like cutting it extra long, and I can cut it down shorter later. It just makes things easier. So here we go. God, I love auto strippers. Okay, so what we're going to do, just as a preview, is solder these wires all together like that. But if you've seen all my other videos, you know that, of course, I always recommend tinning them. You're right. So Let's see.
I can hold it too.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so you can use these helping hands, or you can use a cameraman. That's even better. Warning, using cameraman may cause trains to pass where you are.
Exactly. Correlation is causality in this world.
Exactly. Okay, so here we go. I've got my soldering iron. I know we've shown this in every video. You guys are probably tired of seeing people tin wire, but you know.
But you guys will be experts at this.
You'll be experts by the end of it. I'm probably not even the best example of how to tin wire, but...
Doing it terribly.
Thank you. Jerk. Okay, tinning this wire. I think mostly the reason we're doing it all at once is so that you don't have to we don't have to edit this later and combine videos. That's just a hassle.
It's a lot easier.
So here's the magical trick that I had mentioned before. Magical trick. So it'd be very hard to hold all these 3 wires while soldering. So the trick is you take a single strand of whatever scrap stranded wire you have laying around, maybe 1 or 2 wraps just to kind of hold that, and then you just kind of lasso them all together like that. Lasso. I think I always cut these a little bit short. I always wish that I'd made a little bit longer a piece to hold them, but that seems to work, right?
Okay. The thing is, as long as it holds.
As long as it holds, right?
It's
it
just
gets
like
the job done.
Easier way to hold the wires.
So now I'm just gonna, and I always like injecting a liberal amount of solder into all this stuff. So I'm just globbing it on there. And then remember, when you have lots of metal wires attached to each other like this, it makes a pretty big heat sink. Not a big heat sink, a big heat capacitor. It just holds a lot of heat. Thermal mass, large thermal mass.
That
so there you go. You can see that they're soldered together pretty well, even though there's a little bit of loose lasso material, I guess we'll call it. They're all held together pretty well.
Cool.
And then also, if you have extra shrink tubing laying around, that's what we're going to just put over this. And so I think I have some of the blue stuff laying around, but because it's easier at hand, I'm just going to use this other black shrink tubing I have. Cut some length like that. And then this is going to be my positive node. So, of course, it's nice if you can label positive and negative, but you know, I've found that it's easier to just not, because it's so easy to just do another continuity test. Like, you know, after I've built both of these, even if I don't know which is positive and negative, I can go back to here and measure that there's continuity. And of course, because I did all this on camera, I think I chose some heat shrink tubing that was a little bit too small. So
now it's stuck.
Yeah, it's kind of stuck. Let me get a slightly larger piece here. Okay. All right. And okay, so that's basically it. I can heat this in just a moment, but you get the idea of how that works.
Cool. And repeat the same for the other 2 wires for the battery packs. Then you'll have your positive and your negative leads.
It's going to be awesome.